Hey everyone! So, for my first case, I had Samuel Duncan. He is a 62-year-old African American male. His primary diagnosis was early onset Alzheimer's, and he noticed this problem starting to occur when he was actually at his job and he wasn't able to maintain the same routes as he was. He is a retired postman, so he did give out the mail. He had all of these different routes that he went on. He is currently in a independent living facility with his wife, and he was being recommended for a day program inside this facility so that way his wife can go out and be able to do activities that she still wanted to do while also decreasing that caregiver burden because she's the primary caregiver. He also has a secondary diagnosis of sickle cell anemia, which means he's caused by frequent infections. And then he also has mild rheumatoid arthritis from that as well. So, my main goals for him were to be able to engage him in more activities because his activities really only consisted of reading the newspaper and hanging out with his grandchildren. He didn't really list any more. And then my other goal was to see if he is allowed to be in this day program in a safe manner with the aid or by himself independently. So, my original idea, my original treatment was going to be kind of like a scrapbook of photos. However, I really didn't like the scrapbook idea, but I did find this in my house because it's actually mine. And I had pictures from school that I had, and what I was able to do is I was able to put the pictures in, but then there was these little tiny boxes over here that I was able to write like who was in the picture and when was the picture taken or like any fond memories. So I feel like that would be a good idea for him because that way he's able to see those names repetitively. He's able to remember what he was and kind of like add new pictures of his grandchildren as they come, and that way he's able to like date them and he's able to see when those pictures were taken and then remember when those pictures were taken. Next, I just bought this from school actually when we were doing our clean out. And these were boxes that I used to hold some of my stuff in my closet. And this reminded me of the shadow box project that we did for adult. And I feel like if I did a very thorough interview of him, as well as including his wife in that interview, I would be able to do a very nice shadow box for him, just like we did for adults. So that way he was able to remember some of his past professions, such as like the mailman. And that way he can also show it to his other family members. And that way he's able to see what he was in the past or stuff that he would like to do in the future. The next two things that I have are actually kind of together. So I have a word search book that my grandma had that was extra because she really loves to do word searches and she started getting me into them. And then I also have puzzles, which I brought back from school as well. I have two puzzles here actually. And I feel like this way it kind of gets him into more activities that he can do independently to see if he likes those activities because he really isn't engaging in much activities at this time besides reading the newspaper. So I feel like this way he's able to do activities by himself that he may find enjoyable, or he can do these activities with his grandchildren as they come because obviously this can be done together or the puzzles can be done together. This is a little bit too difficult for his grandchildren because it is 500 piece, but if they do work on it together, I feel like that would be easier and more beneficial for him because he is engaging more with them instead of kind of being more reserved like he used to be. So, one activity I forgot to mention that he likes to do is chatting with his neighbors. And due to this whole entire social distancing thing, I actually found these little thank you cards. And I know I have more cards around the house that don't say thank you, they're just regular, old, small little cards. And I figured what he can do is he can actually think of ideas and different cards that he would like to write to different people, and then we could actually deliver them like outside his door in a safe manner so that way he's still able to communicate with them but it's not putting too much pressure on him to fill out like a whole entire like paper letter. This way they're small little thank you cards and he can thank them for like chatting with him, or they can like thank him, or I figured he could also maybe write a couple cards to his wife and thank her for all of the help that she's done to him, because I know he does appreciate what she's been doing for him. However, she's kind of been the primary caregiver, so she does have all that burden on. And I think he does realize that. So that way, these thank you cards are able to be kind of another form that he can speak and communicate with other people. So I believe this is activity number 4. So I actually have a calendar right here, and I figured you can either do a calendar or a planner, but I was going more towards a calendar because this way he can hang it up in an area that he walks by every day so he can see this. And I would be there with him and I would help him fill it out. And what we would do is like add in like anniversary dates or like special dates like doctor's appointments, or we could even like when it's like Christmas and we can like do a week before, like get presents for Christmas. And this way I would be able to hang this up with someone he would see, and then we can hang like a Sharpie or something right next to it so each day he can cross it out, and that way it's easier for him to keep track of the days. He is able to see what's up and coming, and that way he has an easier way of remembering instead of being constantly reminded, hey, do you remember this? Or hey, do you remember that? Same thing with a planner, it can work. However, I know there's a possibility that he could misplace this planner if it is small and he doesn't remember that he's and has a planner. And this way, his wife also can refer back to this calendar and see, oh, when is his next doctor appointment? Or when should I have this done by? And that way, it kind of helps her relieve the burden of the stress as well. So, my last activity is actually something that we did with mental health, and this was actually Craig's idea. And my mom just got all of this fruit, and because she's been on a real fruit kick lately. So, I figured what we can do is we can have him make a fruit salad, and I'd be also able there to assist him in case there was any safety concerns with knives and such. But this way, he's doing a little activity that he can actually present to his wife, and then they can have like a little small lunch snack meal together. But it also works on sequencing and problem solving in case there's like ones that are like way too big and he needs to cut them up. But I figured this would be a nice little fun activity for him to do at the end of the day that he could also get more of a reward out of because he can present this to his wife and he is able to eat them. So those are all 5 of my activities, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the final week.